Chris Contreras.
Okay, hold on. I'm getting ready to start the show.
All righty.
They said it was at least 8.5 feet tall.
It wasn't more than
We probably locked eyes for maybe 3 seconds, and that was enough for me to just be completely scared out of my mind.
You put bait out too?
We have similar reports in Russia.
I must have watched it for about, a minute and a half.
A large something.
I couldn't explain what it was.
And that's when I saw the face peek out from behind the tree at me.
But ancient Native Americans have been recounting sightings for centuries. Sightings of creatures all the Creek.
They ran into this people that they call the Creek Devil.
Since the late 1950s, local and national newspapers have recounted eyewitness reports of 6 to 8 foot tall, hairy, man-like creatures roaming the mountains of Humboldt County in Northern California.
Where the crystal waters flow. No reason to consider company might show, but destiny would find you where you walked across the sand to leave a world divided. Did Roger film a Bigfoot or man? Where are you now, Patty?
Well, welcome, folks. It's that time once again for the Friday evening Bigfoot Radio. And now for the Bigfoot research team from across the country, welcome, everyone. How is everyone doing tonight? I get a big old kick out of that, those two horns blowing off. It makes me think that there's somebody out there trying to blow steam off. Anyhow, was thinking about this heat that's really killing our nation. California right now is 107 degrees where I'm at right now, and I'm just sitting here sweating buckets of sweat, or buckets of water, whatever you want to call it. And I'll be glad when winter gets here, because as soon as winter gets here, then, or at least not winter, but fall and then winter, when fall starts rolling in and then winter starts really kicking in, mostly all the Bigfoots are going to be out down here again, stomping around in a nice cool air, and we're all going to be back out in the woods again doing the research like we always do. So, Richie, what's going on in your neck of the woods? Any stories or anything like that?
No, I've been following this group in the Hudson Valley that they have a little group of researchers, and they've been finding a bunch of footprints.
Really?
And I made some kind of contact with them, but, I give them my number. They don't call me, and I'd be glad to sit and share with them. Right. But I found a new photo that I've been playing with that I am positive is two creatures squatting down and looking at me, and I've been trying to clean them up as best I can. And I swear, Giant, I've gotten down to where I can see that it's actually fur. It's not flop squatches. It's not.
Now, is that the photo you sent me here a few weeks ago?
I think so. I sent
it
you
looks
two
like
photos.
It's hiding behind a tree or brush or something like that.
Yeah, they're squatted down. There's two of them, I think.
Yeah, I actually did look at that, and I put it under the infrared that I have on my computer. And by looking at it, you could see the heat signature of the body and everything else. And it looks just like there's a person squatting down, but this person's all hairy, and you can barely make out the face.
Well, I've got it cleaned up to where I can make out eyes and a nose and a mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working on it, but it looks kind of like my second sighting that I had. That was I'd say it was anywhere from 3 to 5 seconds. That doesn't sound like much,
mm-hmm.
but it is a long time if you're just sitting there staring at something. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I really do.
The look of that creature and the way it moved is still imprinted in my mind.
And you know something? When you go out into the field and you think you hear something walking around that doesn't sound like a normal person actually walking, and you look around in the woods as good as you can. I mean, don't look around too fast. Always look at the nooks and crannies in the woods and the trees. You're sure as heck good enough you're going to find something out there that's out of place.
Well, you know what I've noticed? They'll take a hiding spot on a trail where you're not going to look.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where the trail like hooks away from them, where you're going to naturally turn your body and not look that way. They'll be looking at you, but your head will not be turning towards them. But the sighting I had, the creature's face was completely black, all right? It had a very, very slight, what I would call a sagittal crest. But what struck me is the way it moved. It didn't swing its arms like you see in the Patterson film.
Right.
Its arms were bent at the elbow, both arms, and its hands were turned down, Giant. It was, and his fingers seemed really long. And it's the fur on it was about probably the length of a chimpanzee's. It wasn't real long. It wasn't hanging. And it was very, very athletic looking. It wasn't the big barrel-chested creature that you see in the Patterson film.
Right,
It was more lean and muscular, which I really think at least probably a subgroup of them are. I don't think they're the big. We just equate them with looking like a upright gorilla would look like. I don't think they really look like that. I know they don't look like that.
Well, I know I've seen a few of them that had I don't know about where you're at, but the ones we have in like Northern California, and not sure if Chris can verify this or not, but up in Northern California, most of all the Bigfoots I've seen up here don't have hair that protrudes like off maybe a couple inches. The hair that they have up here looks like reggae hair or something like that is really long, but kind of like knotty or whatever. It's kind of hard to describe.
There might be different types of creatures in different areas.
That's what I'm thinking.
And another, I've never ever told anybody this. I had a photo, I've lost it, because before, when I first started, I didn't know how to save photos.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear I had, where I had my second sighting, I had a group of like 4 or 5 of the creatures standing there looking at me, and there was a really small one.
Right.
And I'll be, a son of a gun, it looked like it was holding some kind of little white doll or something.
Like an infant or something.
It would be like a 3 or 4 year old human toddler, but it was holding a doll, Giant. I swear, it looked like it was holding something that looked like a human, something white and human that would be like in human form. Mm-hmm. And we said before, we think that at least some of these creatures are either hybrids or some kind of hominid instead of just an ape.
Right.
And I do think they have a culture.
They have to have one because look at the language that they have.
I heard the language. I've been blessed enough to be out on my own and hear 2 creatures conversing back and forth in Samurai, and I will take a lie detector test to that.
You know,
I will take a lie detector test to anything I say, because if I got to lie about this stuff or hoax it, I wouldn't waste my time this long doing it.
Right. And you know something?
I have more integrity than that.
Right. I think it was like last year that I posted some videos up on Facebook of me and the other team walking around in the hills up in Brandy Creek area. And it was still a little rainy. The weather was beautiful. Not sure if you could hear them, but we were walking, and when we stopped, we sort of heard some talking, but it didn't sound like regular human talk. It sounded like a samurai type chatter.
That's what I heard.
Couldn't really figure it out.
And it wasn't. I don't think they were very big because it wasn't very, booming.
Mm-hmm.
I can't explain. The more I see, the less I seem to know.
Right.
There's no way that unless you stayed with a group of them that you could get on top of this thing and know what they do, how they eat, how they live. You'd have to be almost like do a Jane Goodall type thing, and you're never going to do that.
Right.
And they do have.
Go ahead.
They do have. They do think like we do in reason. I'm sure of it.
Mm-hmm.
They have logic. They're not just apes or chimps or monkeys. I think they're either a hybrid or a hominid. Mm-hmm. They're not apes, pure apes. Now, go ahead.
Anthony sent me the pictures he was talking about last week at the email. That anybody out there, that if they have pictures they want to share with the researchers on the show and they want us to talk about them and stuff like that, send your pictures and your stories, and if you want to get onto the show and stuff like that, go to seeking4Bigfoot@gmail.com. Tell us your story, and we'll try to bring you onto the show, study your pictures for you and everything else, and we'll even put your name and stuff on the pictures. But we'll leave the area from where the pictures was taken out so we don't have any hunters and stuff like that go in there and try to at least kill one of these things, because this is not what we're all about. We're all about trying to at least help preserve these creatures' way of life. But the pictures, here we go, right? I'm looking at the pictures that he sent me. And one picture shows him measuring a footprint that he found in a thing of mud that looks like it's about 16 inches long. And then the other footprint that he took, yes, about 16 inches long. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. So what I'll do later is I'll go to the Northern California Bigfoot radio page, and I'll post the pictures there for you, Anthony. Wanted to tell everybody Anthony wasn't able to make it in tonight. I think he had some business he had to attend to. So, anyhow, Snake Man, you want to tell everybody about what's going on in your neck of the woods about the rabies and stuff?
Hey. Yeah, rabies right now are very, very high. We've been getting a lot of calls for raccoons, possums, other animals that have been showing signs of having the rabies virus. So everybody, please beware, okay? Just keep treating an animal that's wild like you would any other animal. Just stay your distance. Don't try to push your luck with them. These things, if you get a shot at get bit by one of them, you're going to have to be in there and get tons of shots, and just horrible. Okay, so just be very, very careful. Be aware of what's going on with these animals, because remember, you're in their turf.
Right. So, Snake Man, anything going on in your neck of the woods at all that you know of you might want to share?
Well, nothing yet, although we do have a visit from a organization I cannot mention.
Well, yes, we know the organization. You can tell us the detail. You just don't have to mention no name.
Well, they're here and they're looking for signs of activity, and this is just happens to be the spot where we have hot spots.
Right.
And where we had our encounters with our getting prints and handprints and all that. That's why I found that one handprint, Giant.
Right. Now, do you know if the team is still out there, or did they leave already, or what?
And that's inconclusive right now because I haven't got anything to verify either way.
Right. Understand. Well, I would ask Chris what's going on in his area, but it'd be kind of hard to find. It'd be kind of hard to find a Bigfoot where he's at. I don't think any Bigfoot would be dumb enough to be down in that heat.
Hey, I got something for you if you can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
I can't.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody else can.
So, Bart Coutinho, I'm not sure if you guys know who he is. He's a fellow out of Monterey Bay. His family owns the sardine factory. He got into the Sasquatch deal just on accident, overhearing a conversation about Justin Smeha. But, and he's local out here in Monterey. Now, we do get once in a while a little bit of activity. We get reports from here and now once in a while. And we did have one come out recently from I think it was a farm worker working out in a vineyard out there in Monterey County who saw a gray Sasquatch running through the vineyard. And so, I like I said, and I can bear with you, I was thinking about you guys with that heat, and I know the Central Valley, it takes no prisoners. I mean, it's merciless out there. And Anderson is no exception. No. Anyway, yeah. So I've been thinking about you and my buddy, and but it's been unrelentless out here either. I mean, it's just been crazy. I actually broke the law and went swimming in our reservoir. There's signs all around saying no swimming, but I had to go for it, man. It was too much, and made it out safe. But yeah, we do have some reports here. I looked into it. I was never a believer. All my stuff happened up north. But, good shout out to my good buddy Michael Orr, who was on the show a couple shows back. When I started doing, homework on my area, just because, we have the Bigfoot Discovery Museum here in Felton, California, and which is owned by Mike Rugg. And so I decided, I got to go in this place, and when I saw it in the beginning, I thought, this is, just like a sideshow attraction to pull, people off the side of the road, and have a little thing, a little gig. But, when I went in there, I started talking to this man, Mike Rugg. He is a trove of information. That guy is a human encyclopedia on Bigfoot. I mean, he is, yeah. You could sit in there.
Is that the one that's got the baseball cap and the gray beard and stuff?
Yeah, and his starts off with a little choo-choo train too. It has the little.
What part of the state of California does he live in? What county?
He's in Santa Cruz County, so he's right the next county over from me. I'm in Santa Clara County, and he's just right over the Pacific, Range Mountain right here, the Santa Cruz Mountains here.
I kind of swore that maybe the museum was up on the northern part of California, up on the coast, but I wasn't sure.
I was thinking it would take off and do so well if you had one, say, and I don't like to say it because I would like to put one there up in Yurok, California.
Yeah, Yurok would be a good place for one.
That would be perfect. That's right at the base of Bald Hills right there, and they got a lot of action.
I didn't even know Monterey had a lot of action for Bigfoot activity. With all the cities being outside and the mountain ranges, I mean, the mountain range up there doesn't look like it would be all that much wood and tree like it is up in Northern California. But
there's pockets that are pretty vast, and most of it's owned by the water district, so it's off limits. I mean, ever since, well, especially since after 9/11, those areas have been completely off limits. There's trail cams everywhere. You go past one of those things and set off a thing, and gosh, the big security guys come out and they want to know what your business is and why you're there and everything. There's a lot of expanse out there that's just pretty much untouched.
Right. You know, something that gets me about this is 9/11 is I went up here to Shasta Lake Dam. You know, you can't go across that dam anymore like you used to a long time ago. Now they have a security booth there, and before you can go across the dam, you either get out of the car and they take a mirror and they look up underneath your car or whatever else, I guess to make sure you're not a terrorist or some dumb thing like that. I'm not sure what the whole ordeal is about that. But Oroville had that at their lake for a while, and now they haven't done it since 9/11, and it's open to the public. You can go across the thing and don't have to worry about it. Shasta is the only place that does it. That's what shocks the heck out of me.
Wow. You know, up over around here, everything is, because we got such a dense population out here, everything's just off limits. There is no common sense allowed. You're not allowed to think for yourself. You know, I kept telling people, you know, that thing, people used to swim in the reservoirs, but nowadays it's off limits. You'll get a ticket, you'll get a fine. They ought to just put floating signs out there that say, keep kicking or you'll sink. You know, too many people get out there and they drown, and then, you know, there's no lifeguards, so they just made everything off limits. Multiple reasons, but, you know, we've sat in the Bigfoot Discovery Museum many times for hours and think tank about this whole situation, and we kind of come up with the conclusion that, you know, and I haven't had my experience like Michael Orr has and Mike Rugg and the people up there in Monterey County and Santa Cruz County, but we kind of came to the conclusion that these squatches have got to absolutely be a million times smarter compared to the ones out there in the vast Pacific Northwest, where they pretty much got the whole place, the lay of the land, to themselves, you know, for the most part. Around here, I think they're very docile, and even more so than you know, even up north. And it's an accident when they get seen for, you know, for any reason. We had a lady come down from L.A. You know, one of the stories was, you know, and as I was becoming a believer for this county, for Santa Cruz County, there was a lady came down from L.A. with two of her kids, rented a cabin in Big Basin State Park. In the middle of the night, something large on 2 feet was lumbering around her rented cabin, and it shook her up so bad, she took her kids, and as soon as that thing went away, she got in the car, she left everything there, and went to a hotel in the middle of the night, left that cabin there just sitting there for 3 days. It was rented for 3 days. It was paid for, and she forfeited it. She was that shook up. Now, you know, I always say, well, she was a city lady. She was up there in L.A., and who knows, you know, it could have been some picnic basket thief, you know, some drunk or whatever, who knows, weighing in excess of 300 pounds who didn't get enough meal for that night. I don't know. But then, you know, then there's Michael Orr's story, you know, about being on those 57 acres and going out with his Mini 14 with 80 rounds and being screamed at and being intimidated to the point where he had to back out of there. And then we have a police officer who saw one while she was sitting on the bank there in San Lorenzo watershed. And then we got the guys up there, you know, we've got a sighting out there in the vineyards out by a Catholic retreat in San Juan Bautista, and I was looking into that, and then now we got Bart Coutinho who was saying that they got a vineyard worker who saw one, and really they don't have any, you know, most of these guys are you know, Mexican immigrants, and they really don't have any
explanation for it.
Well, I mean, really, there would be no profitability for them to talk about something and draw attention to themselves. Sometimes these people aren't even here legally working. So, I mean, to report something like that, you know, a lot of people, you know, who might be working here illegally might just keep that one to themselves and just take it, just have to deal with it.
I mean, it's kind of odd to think this, but haven't you noticed that every year these Bigfoots are getting closer and closer and closer to society? It's as if somehow or another they're either running out of food in the forest or something like that. They're getting closer and closer and closer to human society.
Agricultural areas I've been hearing a lot about.
Yeah, going towards the fields, the walnut trees, the peach areas where they got vegetables and stuff growing.
And notice how, down south, like, I mean, there's a few, they have the raceway monster down there and down towards Palmdale and all that and Fontana and I guess they had talked about them being down there in the citrus groves, back in the 70s even, and, down there and around Merced, down big towards, out there. And it makes sense, when they were talking about Monterey County, these things are being seen close to the Salinas River. Now, if you look into Monterey County on the BFRO, there isn't a whole lot of reports, but there is one report that stuck out with me, very credible in my opinion, because it had to do with Arroyo Seco river, watershed, and Arroyo Seco feeds the Salinas River, and the Salinas River Valley feeds that whole agricultural area. And basically on the Arroyo Seco, there was 2 U.S. Forest Service workers who witnessed seeing it on, 2 different people on 2 different occasions saw it. And they would always, they called it the monster of the boneyard or whatever, because they're working out there around the, this campground area, and they had to patrol this area. They had an area called the boneyard where they kept all the old vehicles and all the busted park benches, and they'd go there and grab parts when they needed to fix an outhouse or fix a park bench. They'd go into the boneyard and grab stuff. Well, a lot of people would have to have this shift during the grave shift at night and go and patrol the boneyard and make sure nobody was camping out there illegally. 2 or 3 times different Forest Service workers saw this creature that was 8 foot tall walking, through their boneyard. And so I guess we got him. I mean, I was always thinking, the only way I'm going to go squatching is if I head east over toward Yosemite, Tahoe area, or head north and get above Mendocino County on the coast, And I said, otherwise I ain't going to find anything. But apparently we got a few out here. I mean, I can't vouch for it myself, but there's enough people saying it.
I took a trip with one of my family members. We were going to Reno, Nevada, pick up a car. And on the way up through Nevada, or going to Nevada, I should say, I decided to take Highway 36 out of Red Bluff, and then from Highway 36, the Mount Lassen turn off going up through Mount Lassen and all the other places. And, I was hoping I'd get there before the sun went down. That never happened. And I'll tell you what, no matter how far I went down the road, I've seen more deer than I did in a lifetime. I mean, by the time we got to Reno, out on the other side of Portola, California, I swear we must have went past 300 deer going through Lassen County. And I'll tell you what, with all the deer, with all the game and everything there, even there was some places where we stopped and pulled over and rested to give the vehicle a rest and stuff, I could have swore I was being watched, but there was nobody out there. And the places where I thought I was being watched from was coming from like the forest area, and I'm like, wow, something's just weird out here. And before I got back into the car to take off with the people I was taking up to Reno, I I had this funny odor, and it didn't smell like a skunk. It smelled more or less like wet dog hair and a skunk kind of like combination. And so I knew for a fact that there was some Bigfoot activity out there. I just couldn't see it because it was pitch black at night.
Wow. I think that, that whole, everything you drove through probably was loaded. I mean, they're following them around. They have to follow them.
And they stay more in the tree line, even when the sun is out. They stay more into the tree line where the shade is at than they do outside where the sun, you're going to sweat to death and everything else. When nightfall comes in, that's when they come out. It's nice, it's beautiful, it's cool outside, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I get spooked out every time I'm out in the heat fishing, going along creeks and stuff, and come to a cool culvert and go to peek in, I'm hoping that it's not gonna there's not gonna be one sitting in there cooling off because it's 100 degrees out, Yeah, I've heard of them being, I've heard
I'll tell you what, when the first time I see a Bigfoot sitting down drinking a cold one, I'm going to think to myself, now I know I've been seeing things.
Yeah, there was a report of these guys. They were in Oregon, Southern Oregon, and there was a rainstorm. Somebody was goofing off, and they went down into this culvert. There's a big culvert, and there was 2 Sasquatches sitting in there waiting out the storm, I guess. But what a nightmare to run into. But
I tell them to move over and make room for me.
Yeah, let me in. That's it. Yeah, I tell you, there's areas when you just, I don't know. I get the spooks when I get into an area. When I see a lot of animals, that makes me feel kind of comfortable. But when I get in an area when there's like no animals and it's so quiet that you could just hear your own thoughts echoing.
Right. And something else about the night, I don't know which is worse, being scared at night with no moonlight or being scared at night with a full moon.
Yeah. And it wasn't until just not too recently, I mean, it was probably about a year ago when I started realizing that, all this time that I'm always looking at face level, they might not even be right there. They could be sitting right up in the tree. So now I'm looking up all the time. I'm always looking up. I'm looking down. I'm looking in between the branches and the trail that I'm walking on, and just, yeah.
Well, Snake Man had, I think, an incident like that here not about a couple years back about some of them Bigfoots being in trees. Didn't you, Snake?
Yeah, I did.
Want to give us?
Well, yeah, I am.
Come on, don't leave us in suspense now.
Hold on, Shorty. Let me get the first word out, will you?
How you doing, Snake Man? Good to hear your voice.
I'm doing kind of middling.
Hey, how hot is it there, Snake?
It's hot. It's so hot. We had caught a possum in the trap, and that thing was like panting real bad. We caught a 50-pound coon the other day. It expired in the trap. It was so hot.
Wow.
We're talking like 100 and something degrees. I think it was like 107 degrees.
Well, it's 106 here right now, so it's not that far.
I thought it was hot the day I was out there.
Well, keep in mind, guys, Bigfoot and trees, a lot of times they'll get up in the trees, A, for scouting, B, to get like pine needles, stuff that they can use, sap, bark, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I
wonder what they would use the sap for.
I heard they eat it.
It depends if they discovered fire.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could use sap to start. You can use pine sap to start a fire.
Right.
I've heard that these animals will break a branch and let the sap start dripping, and I've heard that a person has witnessed them licking the sap, and that makes total sense that these things have the power and strength that they have, eating all the superfoods of the planet, the saps, the pollens, all the grasses that we forfeited years and millennia ago. I mean, they're eating stuff that we're missing out. They're going down to the beaches and getting kelp, the ones that are on the coast. They've been spotted doing this, they've been spotted by people driving, walking across Highway 101 from the beach side into the redwoods with a bundle of kelp over their shoulder.
Right. Something a lot of people don't realize this, but when you go into the mountains, I'm not sure what type of tree this is, but there's a tree up there. It has something on it that looks like a small miniature pine cone, but it's not a pine cone. It's called something else. But actually, you can take these things. Now, they make a powder out of it where you can actually take this stuff and eat it, but you can't eat too much of it now. And it's a superfood. When you mentioned something about they're eating all that superfood, that's what just dawned in my mind. Wait a minute, there's a little tiny, looks like a pine cone, but it's not. It grows on these saplings out here up in Northern California. Like I said, I don't know what they're called. I know that pine cone seeds, if you eat enough of those are a superfood from nature. What's those? Acorns, certain type of acorns that grow up here. Those are also another type of a superfood, but you got to get tannin out of them. You got to soak the stuff in water to get rid of the tannin in them. And then there are certain types of the tree bark that's also a superfood. It's like fiber or something.
Wow. There was a story. I don't know if you've had the opportunity, anybody has had the opportunity to read Dedicated to the Native American, A Diary of a Yurok Woman, authored by Lucy Thompson, written in 1915. She goes.
Yeah, matter of fact, I did. She made a documentary, and Lucy talked about these giant hairy men.
Yeah. One of the things that was written in that book that I read several. I don't have the book myself, but I read it on the thing, the Berkeley Library, how that you can download it or whatever on the computer. And one of the things that struck me was there was an excerpt talking about them watching these Indian devils or hairy, these creatures. And one of the things that was observed is they were seen, one of them was observed down on the shellfish beds during red tide. Now, red tide, anybody who lives around the coast understands that during El Niños or during the months of the year that don't have an R in them are the months that you stay away from eating shellfish like mussels and
right. Because a certain time of the months that doesn't have the R in the month, you stay away from them, because if you don't, you get the iodine poison and everything else from them.
Yeah, it's a domoic acid that causes paralysis. Now, this animal was seen down there feasting away, like it didn't give a care to the world, just having its fill of mussels on the mussel beds at low tide. When it was an off-limits time of the year, the Indians wouldn't go down there. And they watched this creature, and they observed it go back up into the forest, and they traveled and kept watching it because they thought it was going to die. They were for sure that, it was, a matter of time, this thing will croak over, and then we'll go get it and make charms and make power off of it or whatever. And
it never happened.
It didn't happen. This thing went up to a sugar pine tree, and it broke a branch and started licking sap. And ever since that happened, they had realized, the Native Americans had realized that sap from the sugar pine tree was an effective antidote against red tide shellfish poisoning, and they made it illegal. The Yuroks made it illegal within the tribe for anybody to cut down that type of a tree, as it was a medicine tree.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And I haven't seen that. I'd like to see that actually, proven in a situation, in a medical situation that it really is, because that really could be.
Well, I think I told people this last month, that I was actually taking the hydrogen peroxide treatment, and sent a friend yesterday on Facebook. There's 3 or 4 different types of hydrogen peroxide, and the best type of hydrogen peroxide you want to take orally is 35% food grade. You don't want to use any other type of hydrogen peroxide. You just want to get food grade. Food grade is better for you, but in order to take the food grade, you have to mix it. You have to mix it with drops with 1 8-ounce glass of distilled water, and the stuff works perfect.
Hey, I took your advice, and I went and bought some. I'm on my 3rd day. I'm still on 3 drops 3 times a day. It's going to go up a little more. I had to skip yesterday, but yeah, I thought, I need to oxygenate my blood. I have sleep apnea, and I don't. There's times.
And I'll tell you what, this stuff works with your breathing. You can breathe better at night. Everything. I mean, this stuff works quick.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm 3 days in, so I got to catch up with you, brother.
What I've been doing is I've been doing 6 drops for a week. I'm up to my 5 drops right now. And Monday, I'm going to start with my 6 drops, go with 6 drops for a whole week in the 8-ounce glass of distilled water. The next following Monday after that, it'll go up to 7 drops. So I'm just slowly doing it so my body will get adjusted to it.
Yeah, they were saying you don't want to go too quick. Mm-hmm. And you got to wait an hour before, you got to wait an hour after, or no, 3 hours after a meal, and you got to take it an hour before you start eating too. There's a few things, and that's why I messed up yesterday, because I took the kids out for a swim out in the redwoods over the hill towards Santa Cruz, and we went out.
The best time to do that is when you get up early in the morning and you eat something. Just an hour after you eat, you take that distilled water, take your drops in the glass, 8-ounce glass of water, and just slam it down, and then you're good for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I'm all about this. I'm trying to get better. I'm having major fears because my sleeping situation's been kind of marred with just because I've been waking up in pain. I told you I got off all those pain meds, and now I don't have a blanket for my pain, and I'm getting about 5 hours of sleep a night, and I'm trying to work it to 6 or 7. And then if I get 6 or 7, I'm good. But I start getting 4.5, and I'm depressed all day, and it's a mess. So I'm working on getting this stuff worked out, because I really want to hang out with you in the fall here. I want to get together with you. My mom's already got the cabin rented out. One of the things I want to do, I want to get myself strong enough. I was going to call you and ask you, I said, man, if we could get a hold of a couple of those little kayaks, or whatever, we can drop in at the dam and kayak down to the, we'll leave the car down there at the pit stop store, and then we can, we get to see all kinds of parts of the river that you wouldn't get to see, because it's hell to hike through the Pit River Canyon.
Yeah. I drove up that way where where you see those 2 pipes coming out of the mountainside. And just where those 2 pipes are coming out of the mountainside down into the river, you can see caves. And I mean, the whole mountainside is just covered with caves all over that place.
Yeah.
And that's where I saw that Bigfoot standing in the water down there on the other side of the Pit River, just watching me. But it kept making a whooping noise, and when I was down, I thought, well, wait, there's no dog out here. It sounded like a dog, but in a way, it didn't sound like a dog. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh,
I kept looking around, and then all of a sudden, I saw it, I went to grab my camera and take a picture of it. Camera was dead. So I got out of the car and I looked at it and I pointed at it and I said, I'm going to come back there and I'm going to take a picture of you. And the thing just cocked its head to the side and looked at me like, huh?
Wow. You know what? It makes me happy.
Of it either.
It makes me happy. You don't know how much it warms my heart to hear that. You know, I mean, I'll tell you, my encounter out there was terrifying, absolutely terrifying in the middle of the night being paced down that road. But
well, I'll walk with you down that road about 2 o'clock in the morning. Won't bother me one bit.
Yeah, I mean, just last year that road opened up, you know, and it's paved now. That goes all the way to the backside of Bernie. And it had been closed since 2011, I think.
Which part was that?
The road that, like, basically, you know where the pipes are, where you drove out to, where the pipes come down on the mountain?
Right, that dirt road?
Yeah, if you would have driven another, say, 2 or 3 miles, there would have been a green gate, and you wouldn't have been able to go any farther, and it blocked it all the way to pit number 3, where the dam is up there towards Bernie. And that whole section was blocked off, and the only people that were going in and out of there were construction people. They're the ones that put in all those brand new campsites with the porta potties and developed all those and put the picnic benches. None of that was there. That whole canyon was completely primitive prior to 2011. After 2011 up till now, up to last year, there was giant construction trucks going in and out of there with cement and rock and you name it, tractors and bulldozers. I mean, yeah, it was hell. And honestly, I thought for sure that whatever walked with me and whatever screamed 3 years before that, anything of those type of animals had vacated the area and said, screw this, this ain't our area anymore, and we don't, you know. And the fact that you got in there and got to see something, that tells me that they still call it home. That makes me happy.
Yeah, and you know something else on top of that, when I took a right-hand turn onto that dirt road, and just before I got going down that road, I noticed there was a sign on the right. It said something about camping permits or fire permits or something or do with designated camping sites up a few miles. And I thought to myself, well, hell, if there's a camping site up in here, I got to go up here and do some camping.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should go up there and pull a couple nights. I know exactly another good spot that does not get a lot of action up there. That the only downfall of that spot is we're gonna be everything we eat and taste and drink is gonna have a little bit of off in it because there's mosquitoes for days. I mean, it's
yeah, the water up there is nice and clean too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we can go fill up at that spring, you know, and that's the best water anybody can. That's Roxanne. I mean, that's crystal geyser right out of the rock, man. That's Mount Shasta. That's Shasta water. That's
right. But you can't put that water in a container and then leave the container for a week and then drink it again, because then after that you get a little sick from it. I know. I tried that once.
Yeah.
When you get the water, you got to take it down to the camp. You got to boil it, and then after you boil it, then you pour it in a strainer and something like that, and strain it through like a filter or something like that, and then the water is beautiful after that. Yeah, that's some of the best. I mean, we drank off of it forever and ever. I mean, I've always remembered drinking off of it. The last time I drank off of it, I hadn't drinking off of it in years, and the last time I did, I think my stomach got a little weird. Yeah.
And,
you know, something to think, man, if you ever came up here, we got the most freshest springs out of the mountains like you wouldn't believe. The water up here that comes out of the mountains are so sweet, it ain't even funny.
Oh, really? Well, we have what's called artesian wells here, and it's sweet water. It's cold and sweet.
Really? Have you caught any artesians yet?
Ha 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 ha. What I was gonna say was that road you were talking, or that path you were talking about, that it's scary to walk at night. I'd walk it.
I know I would. That wouldn't bother me a bit.
I don't want to do it alone. I won't do it alone.
I'll do it with you.
I mean, I'll go with you guys. You guys, I mean, we'll have a good old time walking down the road, but walking down that road, you know, from the hot springs all the way down to where my camp was that night alone, and then having what happened happen, you know, I'll never walk that road alone.
Hey, John, I don't think a lot of people on here know why you guys call me Snake Man.
I was going to ask you that because we got Mothman, there's the Pig Man, there's the Lizard Man, and we got the Snake Man right here, cold live, kicking it with us right here on Friday night.
Well, you forgot the turtle.
They call him the Snake Man because he loves playing with snakes.
No, we were filming the show, and he just mad because one of my snakes for the show got out and got in the shower.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we had to share a motel room for 3 days with a snake.
He said, "Keep that away from me."
See, what was funny was the reason I'm called Snake Man is because, I'm the owner and operator of Southern Night Reptile Retrieval Service here in Paris, Texas.
Oh, really?
We're the only retrieval service in Paris, Texas. We specialize in all reptiles and nuisance animals of any and all kinds, and we're non-harmful.
Dude, that is like the coolest job. I've always wanted to do something like that. I mean, that's like the Turtle Man. You know, that's just really cool.
Yeah. Well, you got the Turtle Man. Well, Turtle Man, he hasn't met the Snake Man yet.
Hey, my parents, my grandparents, they live down there in Refugio, Texas, down there a little bit, east of or west of the Corpus Christi down there in the Gulf, and they used to tell me all kinds of stories about those diamondbacks that they had, and you just wouldn't go in there into that wood pile in the summertime. I mean, it was just a nightmare. And my grandmother, one day my grandfather was out there working, and he used to work in the oil fields. He was out there working on the rig or whatever, and Grandma was home alone. She come out on the porch one morning, and there was about an 8-foot rattler right there on the porch. She grabbed Grandpa's shotgun and blew it right off. But, that's...
My mother used to walk outside early in the morning to go out to the garden and water it, and she'd see something like a diamondback rattler or something like that. She'd just slowly grab the shovel and chop its head off and got rid of the rest of the snake.
Something about me is I'm not originally from Texas. I'm originally from the swamps of South Florida.
So does that mean we got to change your name from Snake Man to Ape Man?
We'll have to get that song from the Kinks. I'm an ape man. I'm an ape man.
Well, see, when we were doing the show, Giant knows what I'm talking about. The producer said that I could be the next Steve Irwin.
Uh-oh.
And so then when the snake got out of the trailer at a certain place at night, somebody backed off real quick because I guess they were afraid they were going to get bit, and it's no wonder he didn't run the other way.
Who was head first into the truck trying to find it?
I think that was somebody else we both know.
Oh.
Hey, we had a lot of fun though.
Yeah,
I mean, we had a lot of.
We had a lot of fun making the video clip and everything else. If I get time, I'll put a link to the video clip of the original video clip we did in Alpine and I think somewhere near Elmira, New York. And Richie, what part of New York did we make those films in? One was Connecticut Hill. What was the other one?
I don't know. It was a little pond. I can't think of the name of it. But that Connecticut Hill, we had to go in about 2 or 3 miles. You remember that?
Yeah, and it was so pitch black and dark in there, I couldn't see my hand in front of my face.
Hey, guys, I got a story. You were talking about syrup before. Right outside my area where I had my sightings, I had a friend, and he had some maple trees, and he would put up the tubes in the little buckets for sap. He was going to make maple syrup. And he said he caught a creature coming out and sucking on the little tubes, sucking the sap right out of the trees.
Wow. Hey, have you heard anything from Steve at all? How's Steve doing, by the way?
I called him. I haven't heard. I was going to ask Snake if he heard from him.
I'll tell you what. Do you know where he lives at?
Yeah, but I can't. Yeah, I've been to his house.
Okay. I was going to say, if I send you some of this stuff in the mail, you think you would take it to him and tell him to follow the direction? He lives about 20 miles from New York City. Oh, okay.
It's not like it's close.
Right.
I talked to him about 2 weeks ago, and he said he wasn't doing too good.
Well, I bet if he got a hold of some of that stuff that I've been taking, I guarantee they'd kick it right out of his body.
I don't know. He's a sick fella, Giant. He's a very sick guy.
This hydrogen peroxide, this 35% food grade, has been known to kick cancer right out of the body.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's what he's got.
I'll send you the video there, Richie, and you can sit back and watch the video of this guy. He's giving his testimony and everything about how this stuff works great.
I know my brother. My brother
had got rid of his with it.
My brother was given 2 weeks to live 3 years ago, and he's still here, doing great.
Oh, there you go.
He had cancer.
A lot of doctors make a lot of mistakes too.
It's pretty much a known fact now that it's chemo that's actually killing the people and not the cancer. My great-grandmother, Fanny Marlowe, was diagnosed with cancer that was beyond operation. When they opened up her chest, she had it out through and throughout her body. She was 66 years old, and they closed her up. They gave her 6 months to live. They said there was nothing more they could do. She lived to be 101.
Boy, she made them look stupid.
I'll say.
And that stuff helped me. LOL.
What was that about Tomaine?
I said, can that stuff help me?
Snake Man, from what I understand, this stuff will cure anything and everything. I'll send you all the web page that I sent my friend Bob in Yuma, because he's going to start doing the same thing, and this stuff is incredible. It helps. It helps anything from neuropathy to heart problems to everything you can possibly imagine.
You could do all kinds of stuff with it. You can make toothpaste out of it. You can make nasal spray with it. You can, it comes with the pamphlet, and there's all kinds of uses.
Here's the thing about this stuff now. If you take a drop of it and you put it on your hand, it's kind of cold until it gets a little warm, and then it'll turn your hand white. It's like a dye. It dyes your whole hand white. But then after, you got to wait like 8 or 9 hours for the whiteness to go away. It's like, this stuff is weird.
Yeah, it's slightly caustic. You don't want the pure form of it getting on your skin, they say. They say if you do, to run it under water right away. Everything that's being done is in such a diluted mode. But what we're basically doing is we're changing the pHs in our body. You know, a lot of the things that they've proven is cancer likes acidity, and it thrives in an acidic environment. When you make yourself more alkaline, you kick it out.
And distilled water is an alkaline type water. A lot of people say it's acidy. No, it's not. Distilled water is an alkaline type water, and when you're adding the oxygen therapy to the water and you're drinking it down, you're basically putting oxygen inside your body, and everybody knows no disease, I don't care if it's cancer. Cancer cannot survive in an oxygenated body.
That's right. Yeah, but the pharmaceutical companies would not want us to be, you know, if we were on Larry King Live, but they'd be after our butts.
Pretty much. Well,
Hey,
it's that time of the night again, so you know what's going to happen, right?
Good talking to you all, everybody. I hope you guys have a good night. Thanks, Steve.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Gentle Giant, and this is the Bigfoot Radio for this week. And we would like you all to tune in next week for some more Bigfoot Radio. And all of us on the Bigfoot Radio Network, we would also like to thank our guests for joining in on the discussion tonight on this talk show. And we would also like to thank you, our listeners, for sharing our adventures with us. Join us again next Friday evening for another exciting hour of Bigfoot Radio with the Bigfoot research teams from across the country. And we would also especially like to thank our listeners. Until then, this is the Gentle Giant saying good night, be good, be safe, and we will see you here again next week. Until then, keep Bigfoot live and keep Bigfooting. See you all again next week. Bye-bye, and have a nice night.
Just like a man, while keeping out of sight. What he is may be unknown, but there's one thing I know.